Greetings duelists, and welcome to another video. So, Radio the Abyss is about to be legal in the OCG. It's going to be the main booster set right after Infinite Forbidden. And there are so many things that I did not talk about when it came to this set. I pretty much just spoke about things that were value from my end because I was reminiscent to some of them. Like for example, the new Centurion monster, like the new Mermail Atlantean stuff. There are so many things in this set that are really powerful and worth talking about. I cannot cover all of them. I cannot do justice for the entire set. However, I will cover a few that I think will be important to note and might actually shake up the metagame, at least in the OCG side. The first card I want to talk about is called Dominus Impulse. So Dominus Impulse is the parallel to Dominus Purge, which came out in Infinite Forbidden. It has the same activation clause as Dominus Purge, and instead of disabling fire, water, and dark, it disables light, earth, and wind. Instead of negating search effects, it negates cards that try to special summon. This could be anything from branded fusion to other fusion spells, monster effects that try to summon themselves, so on and so forth. This card is significantly more powerful than Dominus Purge, and its restrictions are way less severe because dark and fire attributes are already dominant in the metagame. That's not to say that this card has its fair restrictions, but in terms of playability and strategies that can utilize this card is significantly powerful. I think its effect is also even more relevant against combo decks than Dominus Purge. Dominus Purge negating search effects could be a little bit more varied, but Dominus Impulse negating chainable special summons is just a little bit too popular to ignore. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to Dominus Impulse is there are some strategies that we have in the game, such as Snake Eyes, Jubel, Unchained, Tempai Dragons. All those three strategies are one of the most popular decks right now, and they can all play this card. I think the best strategy that can play this card, and I want to make a video about this on another occasion, it's Labyrinth. I think Labyrinth is the deck that benefits out of Dominus Impulse the most because it is a normal trap that can remove a monster from the field, which means it can trigger all your Labyrinth effects. All your Labyrinth monsters are dark, so it does not conflict with Dominus Purge either. This can trigger Lady Labyrinth to set another trap. This can also make it so you can special summon Lady Labyrinth afterwards. If you open this alongside a furniture and another trap, you can use the pop effect immediately and just retain the value that you had from the furnitures right on the get-go. Again, I will talk about Labyrinth on another time more in depth, but this card is amazing for that deck, and I have a feeling that OCG players will catch on to this, and you might see that deck just do very well in the metagame. But yeah, I'm even inclined to say that this card is pretty much ban worthy someday, just because of how powerful and splashable it is. Okay, so next card I want to talk about, Area the Water Channeler. If you're familiar with all the Channeler monsters, you already know that all of them can discard whatever attribute they're holding to add a monster of that attribute, but they all have conditions. Hita has to be a monster with higher attack. Earth Channeler has to be a monster with less attack than 1850. Win has to be 1500 or less defense, and Area has to be a monster with a level equal to or higher than the discarded monsters. Uh, this restriction is actually huge. The reason this restriction is in here is bigger than all the other ones is because Area is the best channeler of all the channeler monsters. Why is Area such a good channeler monster? Well, the number one reason Area is so powerful is because it can trigger the Atlantean monsters. And this is a really big deal because not only can it activate all the Atlanteans, it can also add you any of the Atlanteans as well, depending on which one you discard. If you discard Nectaris, for example, you can add level 2s or higher. If you discard Dragoons, you can add level 5 or higher, and so on and so forth. And they're probably thinking, well, I don't want to add higher level monsters than what you're discarding, but we have a few high level monsters that are just really powerful. Like one good example that I can give is Ice Jade Ran Agerine. This is a really good one that is being played in water decks already. If we go to Mermails, Mermail Apistius is another one that also fulfills this criteria. And the list just goes on and on. But the fact that, like, for example, let's say you're discarding a Dragoons for Area and you end up searching Agerine, you can use the Dragoons to just add, like, Neptabis or another copy of Dragoons, and then it is another fodder for Agerine. Area is really powerful in the sense that it really boosts the consistency of, like, any water deck that is playing it. And that's something not many water decks have outside of, like, for example, Deep Sea Aria. Like this card right here. So, it's very soon to tell if water decks are going to be very powerful in the format. Take note, the OCG has Totally Awesome on the Forbidden list. Same with Master Duel. But in the TCG, Totally Awesome is a 3. And that could be enough to just, like, threshold the water strategy into higher echelons. So I'd say if you're like a water player, like, it could be Ice Barriers, it could be Necros, it could be like the Atlantean strategy, it could be Ice Jades, it could also just be something like the old Sprite deck that just played the Nimble Monsters and Deep Sea Diva and, like, all those other cards. I'd say be on the lookout for Area. This is really, really powerful and it's really worth considering. So let's talk about the Primordials. So, for those who don't know, this is a normal summon monster themed archetype. It comprises of 1 main deck monsters and 3 spell and traps. And these are really, really powerful cards. Like, this is a quick effect summon on your opponent's turn that it works as a Dark Ruler no more when it's summoned. And it can also banish monsters depending on the attribute of whatever normal monster you're summoning. And what's really cool about this card is that it is very flexible on the attributes and the types that you're using. So depending on what's dominant in the metagame, you can just play normal monsters of those attributes and then just use them for the Imperial Dragon. Another note is, let's say you are using, for example, let's see, let's go with this, and let's go with, so some pendulum monsters can function for the primordial monsters. And these pendulum monsters, despite them being normal monsters, they have very interesting like pendulum effects. So who's to say maybe you can play a normal summon pendulum strategy that can use the primordials to your advantage, but at the same time also retain their value as pendulum scales and just giving you effects for like other monsters. Like one good example I can give is the Cliffwords. Like if we ever have an Earth dominant strategy in the game, like for example Mimigols could have a second wave of support, it could just be a meta contender. The Primordials alongside Cliffwords can be like a really big like choke point for them. So yeah, I would keep a lookout for these cards. They are not real meta contenders as of yet, but I think they could be in the very near future. Let's talk about the goblins. So goblin bikers are getting 2 new cards. We're getting imprisonment and bikers. These both pretty much have the same effect. They both summon a goblin from the deck. One of them does it distributing any monster, while the other one can be just done upon normal summon or special summon. And this is a level 6 monster, but if you control the monsters, you can actually summon it without tributing. So goblins have not been doing well as a strategy. However, these 2 cards are really powerful for goblins in general. And I know a lot of people just think about goblin bikers when it comes to those these 2 cards, but take note, these summons any goblin card. They can summon the Recon Squad, for example. They can summon the Decoy Squad. They can summon Scrap Goblin if you want to play the Scrap strategy. If you're playing Memento, you can summon Memento Goblin, and this is a Memento starter. Another really cool one that you can summon is Goblin Zombie. And Goblin Zombie, for those who don't know, this is basically Sangan for zombies. Like, so you can pretty much play a zombie dedicated strategy and just play this card in order to tutor the Goblin Zombie, and then Goblin Zombie just becomes a starter for your Goblin plays. So, I mean, zombie plays rather. So, for those who don't know, zombies are a really, really, really like large monster type, and they have a lot of like strategies in the game that can be played alongside them. So I will keep a lookout for these goblin cards. You never know who could be creative with them, and who knows, you could see a guy just summoning bikers for Goblin Zombie, make Chaos Angel with these 2 because this is 6+4, and then just trigger the Goblin Zombie to just add like something, any zombie, I don't know, like you can figure it out. But yeah, keep an eye out for goblins. I think somebody's going to experiment with these. In a metagame where Maxi does not exist, these 2 cards could just be very, very powerful in a combo deck. Obviously, we're getting more Charming Floras that could detriment some of your plays or your plans with this, but that I digress. Okay, so the last thing on the list that we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about Lacrima, the Scarlet Sorrow. So this card is always treated as a Finsmith card. That is really, really important because, as you guys already know, Finsmith is already a dominant engine in the TCG and the OCG. So, effect. Upon normal or special summon, you can send any Fiendsmith card from your deck to your graveyard, except Lacrima Scarlet Sorrow. During your opponent's turn, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Fiendsmith Link monster in your graveyard, shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do, special summon that monster. You can only use each effect of Lacrima once per turn. So this is the antithesis to the Engraver. Instead of summoning itself, shuffling a Life Fiend, it shuffles herself to summon a Fiendsmith Link monster. Another really important thing to mention involving Lacrima is, obviously in the TCG we have the Necro Quip, the future monster, like the new Necro monster, this one. But in the OCG, this card by itself is the full Fiendsmith combo on its normal summon. The way you do it is you just send the Engraver, you link her away for Rikium, you Rikium to tribute for a second Engraver, and then you can Engraver to put back the Lacrima. Another really important note is the Lacrima is level 4. And if you heard what I said about Goblin Bikers a little bit ago, this deck can make this card with relative ease now. And the light effect is more powerful than the dark effect on Chaos Angel. So just opening Lacrima could get you to the entire combo, and it can make it so you can also make Chaos Angel as part of your combo. If you use the Necro Quip as part of your combo as well, you can have it with both attributes. And this is a really powerful tool that you can just splash into any engine that just plays the Fiendsmith cards. It doesn't really have to be a Fiends-based strategy or a Chaos-based strategy. Any strategy in the game that just plays the Fiendsmith cards, I'd say, is just going to take value out of this. So, yeah. I think that's it for now. I covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover involving Rage of the Abyss. I'd say keep an eye out for this set. I think this set will change the meta in the OCG a little bit at least. Take note, in the OCG, like Snake Eye Fiendsmith is still a dominant force. Jubel Fiendsmith as well, even more so than Snake Eye because Snake Eye got slightly hit. So yeah, it's very soon to tell what happens over there, but we're in for a rude awakening. But yeah, I hope you found this video informative to your liking and understanding. Keep practicing and keep dueling.